back to Kitty's Corner. Today we're going to continue with our stories and we're going to read about Joseph, whose father gave him a very colorful coat. But I won't tell you what happens afterwards because you're going to find it in the story, right? Yes. Okay, so I'm going to read from the Children's Bible Stories, packed full of great stories and interesting facts about how the people lived and worked during this fascinating time in our history. This book was written by Catherine McLean and illustrated by Edgar Hodges, in case you're interested in purchasing one for yourself. Okay, let's get into the story. Joseph and his brothers. Joseph leapt and raced along the hilly path. His cloak swung and swirled, for it was rather too big for him. He stopped and wound it around himself and walked along more slowly. He was proud and glad that his father Jacob had given him the cloak, for it meant that one day he would be the master of the tribe. It had been woven in days gone by, with many pieces. It was a little faded now, but the big wide sleeves gave it its real importance. Of course, if his father had married Rachel, as his father-in-law had promised, Joseph would have been firstborn, so really he was entitled to become heir. Joseph sighed. The gift of the cloak had caused a lot of trouble already because his older brothers, 10 of them, were angry and jealous that Joseph, next to the youngest son, should be picked out by their father. Joseph had been rather stupid telling them about his dreams, even though he had known quite well that the telling would anger the brothers. I dreamed a dream. We were binding our sheaves in the field, and my sheaf rose and stood upright, and your sheaves rose and bowed down to mine. How angry his brothers were. Shall you reign over us? They asked. And shall you be master? There had been another dream which had made his parents angry, for in the dream he had seen the sun and moon and 11 stars bow down to him. His father had rebuked him. What is this dream you dreamed? Shall I and your mother bow down to you? And there's Joseph in his technicolor coat. Very colorful. Now he was on his way to see his brothers. His father had sent him to their encampment in Shechem to see how they were faring. The brothers had seen him in the distance. Look, said one, there is a cloud of dust yonder, and yet no wind to raise it. Someone must be coming this way. The men gathered together. The advent of any stranger made a pleasant break in their enforced absence from home. But was it friend or foe? It's a man, exclaimed Simon as the dust settles and Joseph came into sight. No, it isn't. It's a youth. It's Joseph, said Dan. Joseph in our father's cloak. Joseph? Skipping about like a goat let out to grass, said Issachar. Our father shouldn't have given the cloak to him. They watched their brother climb the rocky hillside. How they hated him. If only he would slip from the rocks and fall to his death. At last one of them said what was in the others' minds. Let us kill him! Only Judah and Reuben refused to join in such a plot. Reuben stepped forward. No, he said. "You must not kill him." He stared at the others and hurried on. "You could throw him in yonder pit instead." And then he thought, "I can get him out and send him off home when the others are away or asleep. The pit is dry. The lad will come to no harm except a bump or two." Judah and he would be powerless against the others. Reuben left them to it. He would return. See Joseph's brothers. Reuben was the eldest, and in those days, people were taught to respect their elders. So, for the time being, the others pretended to agree. Joseph could be disposed of when Reuben and Judah were not about. Joseph drew near and called merrily, "I have come with news of our father and mother. They wish to know how you fare." He got no further. "We fare no better than your visit," said one, as the other seized the youth. "Ho, dreamer," mocked another. "Have you had any more dreams?" "Have you dreamed what's going to happen to you now?" scoffed another, as they dragged him towards the pit. Joseph screamed and struggled like a mad thing, but in vain. He was flung into the pit and lay at the bottom, half stunned. His brothers went back to their earlier pursuits, but they were quieter now, because deep down, each was ashamed. Joseph was also quiet. Had the fall killed him? The men sat uneasily on the bank, hardly daring to look at each other. Judah broke the silence. "Look," he said, pointing to the distance. "Here comes a traveling company. If they are merchants, we might sell Joseph to them. It will do no good to kill him. He is our brother." "That's a fine idea," sneered one. "And as soon as the story gets about, what then?" "Foreigners won't know what he says, and if they do, who would believe his story?" answered Judah obstinately. "It would be wiser to kill him," said another. "Sure, these brothers, He is our brother," insisted Judah. The men looked at him. Reuben was against them. Soon there might be more than two against the rest. Yes, they agreed. They would sell Joseph, and that would be the last of him. So it was settled, and while one went to hail the merchants, others hurried to the pit to get Joseph out. He was half stunned and hardly knew what was happening as he was dragged along towards the strangers. The merchants looked at the youth. He wasn't up to much, but they would give 20 pieces of silver for him, no more, they said with signs and a few halting words. The others took the money, tore off Joseph's cloak, and shoved him towards the merchants. Now Joseph understood only too well. He was sold as a slave. He began to fight and struggle, screaming for mercy, but his brothers struck him, and the strangers tore him away when he would have clung to those who hated him. "See, Joseph?" jeered one brother, running along by Joseph's side as he was hustled away. "See, we bow down before you." He waved the cloak. "What will our father say when we tell him that a wild beast has devoured you?" These brothers are mean. But Joseph heard no more. He was on his way to a strange land. His cuts and bruises hurt him. He was lonely and frightened. But of one thing he was sure. The God of his father would be with him, however bad things seemed to be. He couldn't understand why he must suffer so, but he would trust in God. So Joseph came to Egypt. Imagine being sold by your brothers. This is sad. Meanwhile, Reuben had returned to get Joseph out of the pit. He turned on his brothers when he found he had come in vain. "What have you done with the boy?" he demanded. "If you have killed him, our father shall know about it." "Alas, alas," they said. "A wild beast got into the pit and we couldn't save him, however hard we tried. And here is his cloak, stained with his blood." And they showed Reuben the cloak stained with the blood of a kid they had killed. It's a baby goat. It's a baby goat's blood. So they didn't kill Joseph. When they returned home, their father Jacob wept. "I shall mourn for Joseph all my life," he said. But Jacob did see Joseph again. Joseph, when he was imprisoned in Egypt, interpreted the dreams of two fellow prisoners. Then Pharaoh, who was also troubled by dreams, asked for Joseph's help. Joseph interpreted his dreams and so saved Egypt from a great famine which spread into the neighboring countries. Thus, the youth who had been sold as a slave became a rich and powerful member of Pharaoh's court. When Joseph's brothers came to Egypt to buy corn, they did not recognize him, though he knew them. Joseph was able to play a series of tricks on them, putting them through many trials before he revealed his identity. Then Jacob and his family were sent for, and father and son were reunited with great rejoicing. That's the end of our story. What was your favorite part? Mine was that Joseph and his father were finally reunited. But then I think I also liked that God stayed with Joseph the whole time and he turned a bad situation into something good. Because at the end of the day, Joseph didn't become a slave and he really, really helped the Egyptians a whole lot. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed the story. And if you did, give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends so that they can also learn something. That's it for today, guys. Until next time, bye!